Sometimes life gives us lessons in the most unexpected ways, not through words or success, but through silence, loss, and kindness that asks for nothing in return. In a world that moves too fast, we often forget that love doesn't need perfection, it just needs presence. Some stories remind us of that simple truth. Stories not about heroes or miracles, but about quiet souls who heal hearts without ever saying a word. This is one of those stories. A story about a stray dog, a broken family, and the miracle that happens when love finds its way home. Let's begin. There was once a dog who had no name. He wandered the streets, hungry, cold, invisible to the world. His fur was matted, his paws were bleeding, and his eyes. They told a story of pain and hope. He had once known love. He remembered the warmth of a child's hand, the laughter, the soft bed, the smell of home. But one day, that life disappeared. The door closed behind him, and it never opened again. Days turned into weeks. He slept under broken benches, beside overflowing trash cans, and behind the corners of empty alleys. The rain soaked him, the wind bit his fur. People walked past him as if he didn't exist. Some kicked stones toward him, some shouted. But the worst was the silence. No one saw him, no one cared. At night he curled up in the shadows, wishing for a warmth he barely remembered. Sometimes he would howl, a lonely, quiet howl that echoed in the dark streets. It was a howl that no one answered, until one bitterly cold night. Everything changed. A sleek black car pulled to a stop near a flickering streetlight. A woman stepped out, tall and elegant, in a long coat that brushed the wet asphalt. Her name was Eleanor Williams. To the world, she seemed to have everything: a mansion, a husband, 2 children, money, status, a perfect life. But behind the walls of marble and gold, her family was falling apart. Her husband worked late into the night, eyes hollow, shoulders tense. Her teenage son avoided conversation, locked in his phone. And her little daughter cried quietly in her room, a sound that Eleanor could not soothe. The house was large, but empty. They had wealth, but not love. That night, Eleanor's eyes fell on the dog lying in the rain. She froze. His body was shivering, his fur matted and filthy. He looked up at her with eyes so full of pain she felt a pull in her chest. She took off her coat and wrapped it around him. "He's just a stray," her driver said. "I know," Elena whispered, "but maybe he needs someone." She didn't know it yet, but she needed someone too. The dog, weak and trembling, wagged his tail the tiniest bit. Something in Elena softened, a long-forgotten feeling rising in her heart. A spark of hope, fragile but warm. She brought him home. The children stared at the scruffy little animal. "Mum, what is that smell?" her son asked, wrinkling his nose. "It's hope," she said softly, and kissed the top of his head. Days passed. They named him Buddy. They fed him, washed him. The house slowly began to change. The little girl giggled as Buddy followed her everywhere. He waited by the door when the father returned home from work, as if silently saying, "You are needed here too." The teenage son watched Buddy quietly at first, but one day, the boy's hand reached out to stroke his head. Buddy nudged him, eyes bright, and for the first time in months the boy smiled. Buddy had a way of noticing small things. He curled up next to the little girl during storms. He sat patiently when the mother cried in the kitchen and nudged the father when he appeared tired and distracted. Each gesture was gentle, but it spoke louder than words. In his presence, the family remembered how to care. One afternoon, Buddy chased a ball across the backyard. The little girl ran laughing behind him. Suddenly, she tripped near the edge of the garden pond. Buddy sprinted, barked, pulled at her sleeve, nudged her back onto solid ground. The girl looked into his eyes, wide and grateful. In that moment, Eleanor realized Buddy had saved more than a game. He had saved their hearts. The family began to spend more time together. Dinner became lively again, with laughter and conversation. Bedtime stories returned. The little girl shared secrets with Buddy at night, whispering dreams she had forgotten she could have. Weeks later, Buddy became sick. It started with a cough, then weakness. Eleanor and the children spent every moment by his side. They bathed him gently, whispered words of comfort. But the vet's diagnosis was grave. He had been sick long before they found him. There was nothing more they could do. One evening, the family sat together in the garden. Buddy lay on the soft blanket they had spread for him. The rain had stopped, the clouds parted, and the stars shone faintly. For the first time, the family held hands. For the first time, they prayed. Buddy looked at each of them with those same eyes, full of pain and hope, and then he closed them peacefully. The house felt empty the next morning, but something inside it had changed forever. The laughter that returned, the conversations that lingered, the care they gave each other. It was Buddy's gift. Though gone, he had healed them. One sunny afternoon, Eleanor planted a small tree in the garden where Buddy had slept. Her daughter knelt beside it and asked, "Mom, why here?" Eleanor smiled softly. Because love never dies. It just takes new forms. Years later, the tree grew. Sometimes we think that love needs to be perfect, that it needs to come wrapped in comfort, wealth, or beauty. But love, real love, is often found in the simplest of places, in a wagging tail, in a silent presence beside us, in eyes that say, "You're not alone." Buddy didn't just find a home, he built one. He reminded a family, and maybe all of us, that love is not about what we have, but what we give. Every act of kindness, every small moment of care creates ripples that outlast our time here. So tonight, if you see someone lost, forgotten, or invisible, remember Buddy, because love, true love, is never wasted. Thank you for listening, and may your heart always have room for one more soul to call home.